We are back. It's the Joe Holka Show presented by FanDuel. It's our DFS first look at NFL Week 13, a true reaction of pricing inefficiencies and how we see ownership shaking out as we transition into a new week of football. Obviously, last week was a busy one with Thanksgiving and the Week 12 main slate, but we will be building a Week 13 first look lineup at the end, so make sure you guys stick around. Lamar Jackson back on the main slate. We have Kyler Murray. We'll see if he's back, that ankle injury, but Lamar is 8,500 against this Pittsburgh Steelers team that looked absolutely horrendous last week, but they did win Michael Leone 60K on the Thunderdome. Again, all these weeks where the cash game bros get destroyed, Leone just wins the Thunderdome, so I guess he's got something figured out. But we do have Kyler back on this one, Justin Herbert 8,200. See if we can go back to Tom Brady against this Atlanta team. I guess, did you have any Tom Brady last week, Hodge? Because like seeing those 4 Fournette touchdowns was a little bit tilting, but they still put up like 38 points. Like, what the hell are they going to do to the Falcons?
Yeah, to Tom Brady exposure last week. And in fact, that the entire game I was exposed to last week, I just thought the total was great. Swiss cheese of a defense, still like good offensive line for Wentz, even though I really didn't think Taylor was a lot in play. But like, yeah, the Tom Brady stuff was tilting, man. I mean, 4 touchdowns for Fournette when we have literally just been singing Brady's praises around how much he's been throwing around the 5-yard line and the 1-yard line and trying to go for that
he threw
record.
one to Fournette, to be fair, but
he threw one. Yeah, exactly. He threw one to Fournette, and like Evans still had some targets down there, so it's not like it was just like 3 handoffs to Fournette and that was it. Like they still threw a little bit, but to go back to your Lamar Jackson stuff, like I don't think I'm paying 8,500 here. I just have an extremely difficult time playing. Like, is this the second time that they've played each other? I'll have to go check, but like I think this might just run slow, man. I mean, we're just coming off the Sunday night football game. Oh, there's a total slugfest. I mean, just insane turnovers. So like, I don't know. I'm kind of out on the Lamar 8,500. I would prefer him, and honestly think I might just prefer a guy like Jalen against the Jets over Lamar. I think very similar ceilings, a softer matchup, and potentially like a little bit higher pace of play. I would have to go check the situation neutral stuff, but
yeah, one of the things that I wanted to make sure we kind of tapped the brakes on a little bit was Justin Fields actually leads the slate in average intended air yards, which I did not realize. But I think that moving down to Lamar or Hurts, like both of those guys in the top 4 still in average intended air yards. So I think both those guys still willing to push it down the field. Hurts, it's really just been a volume thing. And then if he doesn't get the touchdowns around the goal line, you kind of see his floor this past week as well. But I always want to kind of keep a pulse on that. If we're looking at completion rate above or below expectation, you see all of these rookies, man. Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, like all of these guys, Justin Fields, we were just talking about, they just haven't been efficient enough for me in a lot of ways. So Joe Burrow, someone that definitely stands out on the efficiency side so far this year. Dak Prescott, I guess Mac Jones, you can put him in the category. We just talked a little bit more about the Patriots with Sigmund Bloom, so make sure you guys check out that video. But yeah, quarterback so far, Hurts still at 8K against the Jets, like has to be a really nice bounce back spot. One of the ones that I want your take on, though, is Kirk Cousins. So he's 7,700, and I get it. We have some of these rushing quarterbacks back, but man, Detroit has been absolutely horrendous, and we know exactly where the ball is going to go, man, especially if Dalvin is going to be out for multiple weeks. Like, it's pretty clear what's going to happen with Minnesota and Detroit, and Kirk Cousins like could bring them along for the ride at 7,700. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Cousins is great, especially considering how the passing game through the air here will be just insane pivots away from Madison, right? Like Alexander Madison with no Dalvin Cook is probably just going to be massive chalk, massive volume for that guy. So like all of it makes sense. Insane matchup for Madison too. So like I think this is that spot where like, everyone playing Madison and Cash and Chalk and stuff like that. This is another week where Leone just ships a Thunderdome with the Minnesota stack. You know what I mean? Like just not playing Madison.
I considered just not even showing the running backs until the very end of this video. So you guys would have to wait to see what the price is for Madison. So I am going to wait a little bit longer. Let's talk about a couple of these guys that might go under the radar below him. I think. Go ahead.
Talk to me about Russ though against San Francisco. Late slate, so good swap equity here. Yep. You can pivot easily away with a couple of these other late slate options. What do you think about Russ against San Francisco?
It's interesting. I'm really struggling. I mean, I very rarely play Russ just because I don't trust what they're doing on offense in Seattle across the
Agreed.
board, but like a quarterback with a finger issue. But yeah, I guess the price is right. San Francisco can slow things down a little bit. We see these Seattle and San Francisco games get kind of gross at times. So I obviously would have a little bit more interest in other quarterbacks late, guys like Lamar, of course, or maybe even Matt Stafford against Jacksonville, I think is somewhat interesting. But yeah, I guess we'll
The
see
price,
where.
though, was just stood out to me.
Yeah, no doubt. I guess if we're even go down a little bit further, like Tyrod's back in play, probably Tua down here against the Giants at 6,900 definitely
Yeah.
stands out. I think Tua might be my favorite all the way down there, to be honest.
Yeah, Tua's looked great. I actually think he's pretty sharp and can be polarizing, but definitely knows what he's doing. Big Whale goes by the name of Wilson on Twitter,
Hmm.
and he's been vocal about Tua and how he thinks his long-term prospect is still very much in play to be like an above league average quarterback, like top 10, top 15 type quarterback. And so I think that bodes well. And this is just a pretty good matchup against the Giants too. So I think Tua at 69 is a good call.
Yeah, before we see the Madison price, let's move to wide receiver this week. So I'm curious, the top end, right? We'll see if we get Debo back. That groin injury obviously bounces him out of the game this past week. Cooper Kupp is 9K against Jacksonville after a dud where he almost threw a touchdown pass. So that was interesting. Justin Jefferson is 8K. Adam Thielen, 7,600. So that double on the Minnesota side is not cheap. That's for sure. So we'll have to keep that in mind. Chris Godwin, after a dud, still priced extremely high, 7,600 for him. And then we have Jamar Chase, 7,500. The top is pretty stacked, but we move down. Terry McLaurin still 7,200. We have a couple like Brandon Ayuk. Wow, Brandon Ayuk is all the way up to 7K. Took him 2 weeks to basically move that price. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Anything at the top stand out to you?
Yeah, I want to call out. You said a dud for Cooper,
For
and it's
Kupp,
just
yeah.
it's just so funny that he still had like a 15 or 16 point game,
Yeah.
and we call it a dud, right? Because what we expect out of Cooper
96
Kupp,
yards.
exactly right. I mean, it was just, and I think like 20 to 25 of that definitely came within like that last drive. It was total garbage, but that's what you expect out of a target hog with that amount of market share of targets. I mean, the guy doesn't have anything less than 9 targets on the year. Like that is the minimum amount of targets that the guy has seen. So
3 games in a row without a touchdown. His price is still sky high, though. So, yeah, maybe we got some touchdown progression coming our way with
yeah,
Cooper
he's due,
Kupp.
right?
Yeah, he's due. It's been 3 games since he scored. He had like 100 in the first 3 weeks. So that's one to think about, definitely. The Tampa Bay guy is still very expensive. Those doubles, I think, are going to be popular even for the people that got burned by him last week. As we kind of move down, go ahead.
Well, I think it's worth like, I don't know what we're going to see with Debo. So the Ayuk stuff at 7K is actually interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's had a bunch of games where he's seen like 6 or 7 targets, and now no Debo, I think he's definitely gets a pretty massive bump for market share of targets. I'd be more interesting to see like Kittle's price here and see what that does for the quote unquote best pass blocking tight end or best blocking tight end in the league. I feel like it's all he ever gets used for. But
Yep.
if he's going to have low ownership in this game in general, like it could just be interesting.
Yeah, it could definitely be. One of the things, should we just go see what T.Y. Hilton's price is since they play Houston on the road, since he gets 40 every time they do that? Anyways, Jalen Waddle, 6,900. Nice. Michael Pittman, still pretty cheap. A couple of these guys down here below, Elijah Moore, they have a decent price hike for him. Odell Beckham, like the snaps, the target share, all that stuff for the Rams is actually condensed a little bit. It was just the crazy alpha Cooper Kupp stuff, but Odell Beckham, Van Jefferson, that's going to be probably like a conversation like the rest of the year, right? Like I don't even know how to differentiate these two guys.
Yeah, really nice to see Odell get some good air yards in that game. He had that one super deep target, which was really, really nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Devontae Smith and Mike Williams' price kind of both stand out to me from a name recognition standpoint, but they have been a little brutal in regards to, or at least I think Devontae has in regards to his targets. But against the Jets, it's still appealing to me. But Mike Williams at $6,500, touchdown equity on FanDuel is just insane, and his targets have been there. There's been a couple tough matchups for him. Like I think Denver is actually tough. I think New England's tough. He's had some easy games in between, but like Cincinnati, man, I think that's actually $6,500 looks like a really nice price for Mike Williams.
Yeah, I like that. It would be on brand for me to be a week early on a guy like that. Last week I had a Mike Williams Javonte mini stack. The Javonte stuff gets there at a pretty low price point, but Mike Williams does not. I guess my only concern with Devonta Smith is just this Eagles team just isn't throwing the ball at all, right? So like if you're going to get
Totally
20
agree.
pass attempts, like what is the ceiling? Like it is I guess, an interesting play to make because if Devonta Smith gets there, it's probably going to be on a deeper touchdown anyways, or just deeper target. So maybe he doesn't need the crazy volume to completely get there on FanDuel. But yeah, the price is definitely one that stands out. Like a lot of guys down here, man. T.Y. Hilton, 5,700, just so that I said it. I won't make the play, but some people like to go down narrative street there, Hodge. Marvin Jones makes a couple plays last week. I can't justify any of that. Rashad Bateman, 5,500 against Pittsburgh. That one might make some sense if you want to go back to that. Well, he's just burned people, but I still think that the talent is there. Maybe just not the volume so far, but I still feel like Bateman is one that definitely could have some legs underneath them. 5,500, man, he's just so cheap. But anything else down there, like?
You mitigate that price. Like you talk about Devontae Smith and his volume, you mitigate some of that volume at that price a little bit. I still think Devontae and Bateman are probably super thin in general. And I would definitely prefer Mike Williams at that same price as Devontae. But no, I don't see anything right off the bat. Like I'm not playing this Duvernay, Khalif Raymond, Djax. Like I think I'm out on all that stuff. Same thing with Quez Watkins. Like I'm out. Laviska Shenault is just 1,000% dead. I just don't know how you get 9 targets and still have like 6 fantasy points.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. I'm curious to see where ownership goes with DeAndre Hopkins if he does play this week. Like both these guys coming off the bye with Hopkins and Kyler, that could be one that might make some sense against Chicago on the road. Not a great price, but that might be one of the ones we're talking about in tournaments. All right, let's do the reveal. Alexander Mattison. He's 8,700. They got aggressive with it. I like that though. I like that.
Good.
So he's the same price as what Dalvin would have been. Smart.
Oh, that's actually phenomenal. I really thought we were going to see
still gonna be owned, though.
6K.
Yeah, no, this is great though because he's still gonna be a good play at that price point, so he's still gonna be owned. But we don't have like just like the start of the week like 6,500 Alexander Mattison lock him in. So yeah, that's nice. I wonder what he is. Yeah, I don't know. That'll be kind of interesting. 8,700 against Detroit. Great spot. I guess it becomes, do you want to go with Alexander Mattison in a great spot, or you just want to keep jamming in Austin Eckler because he's only 9K against Cincy. Like this Cincy game, I think is going to draw a decent amount of ownership in the run game for sure. And then we have Jonathan Taylor at 10.5. We finally have someone that breaks 10K. That's not named Christian McCaffrey. I don't know. JT 101 next year. We'll see. With CMC on the IR, we'll see where people are drafting him next year. But man, against Houston. Going back to JT after 2 really tough matchups in a row. Now he's got Houston. 10-5 though.
Yeah, I know. What's insane is he performed so well in both of those tough matchups. And Indy totally abandoned him throughout like the entire third quarter. And they really didn't even go back to him till like halfway through the fourth quarter or like, a little bit before that. So like the 16, 17 opportunities that he had, actually, how many targets did he have? Wow. Okay. 5 targets, 16 rush attempts. So he still had 21 total ops when he's typically been like, that's kind of been his floor from opportunities, like for sure, the last like 5 or 6 games. So now against Houston, I got to assume Indy's a massive, massive favorite, even on the road. So that might be a pay up spot. See, that's where the $6,500 Madison, it would have been nice. Taylor and Madison, and you right?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. All right, let's keep working through this. Najee Harris is at 8K. This Pittsburgh team just looks like an absolute dumpster, though. Leonard Fournette, after his 4 touchdowns, is now 7,700. So now it's more of a conversation, right? He was like 6,500, what felt for weeks. Darrell Henderson, 75. Like, we have a lot of expensive running backs on this slate that are somewhat in play. Cordero Patterson, no one really likes to play him. He's 7,400, so he's kind of in that mid-range with a lot of these guys. Saquon gets bumped up in price as well. I think there's going to be a lot of options at the top of the running back position this week. It kind of gets muddled here pretty quick. It seems almost like a throwback slate, right? We had weeks where we just had no running backs that we wanted to play, and we had all these mid-range guys. Now it seems like we're finally getting some guys towards the top that are super interesting. I don't know. Anyone in the mid-range that stand out to you?
almost like we're going back to hashtag Team Jam 'em in, right?
Yeah.
With maybe one of these Taylor and Madison or a Taylor and Eckler, just guys who are seeing insane volume.
Hmm.
I even think Henderson against the Jags at $7,500 is, from a volume standpoint, touchdown equity standpoint. I know that they've looked like the Rams in general have just looked a little bit rough, but Henderson's still getting a decent amount of snap share and still seeing like 17, 18 opportunities in these games. And so against the Jags, I would assume here is a pretty hefty home favorite. Looks
Hmm.
good. I don't see anything super appealing at the bottom end though. Like
So, like, maybe let me throw the two names at you. So Miles Gaskin is 6,400. David Montgomery is
Montgomery
6,500. We were
65.
just talking about
Yes.
Montgomery on the Thanksgiving slate. He doesn't get there, but he still had 17 rushing attempts
Yes.
against Detroit, 3 targets in the passing game. Like, that stands out as a pretty clear price position that you'd want to go after. Gaskin as well. I feel like every time I look up, Gaskin scoring another touchdown last week, 2 times in the box, man, 49 yards on 6 attempts. Like, it's never going to be an efficiency spot, man, but it's a really nice price for some of these guys that we know we're going to get some volume, I think.
Yeah, I do. The way that they're utilizing Gaskin down in the red zone too is very intriguing and very nice to see. The Monty stuff is good. I think I don't know. Do you know off the top of your head if Arizona's funneling the run at all, or have they just been kind of pretty good at everything? Like, I feel like they might be a little better against the pass and the run, but I'm not sure if it's a big enough funnel.
Yeah, I very rarely look at the matchup stuff for, especially like in the middle. They're not at the tails, I'll tell you that. So I think
Okay,
they're kind of just like
that's what I thought.
good at like pretty much like every facet, which has been nice, and they've been pressuring a ton as well. But yeah, I wouldn't really move away from either of those guys based on matchup. Let's go ahead and fly through tight end, because that's probably going to be a bit of an ownership decision for us here, and then we'll build a lineup. So Mark Andrews, 7,300. Gronk is all the way up at 7K now. We'll see if Waller's able to come back. I guess Waller had a couple weeks with this injury, right? I'm trying to remember. Strained IT band, avoids major damage, diagnosed with a strained. Yeah, so it looks like it looks like he could play this week even.
Yeah, I would honestly, we'll really need to see Wednesday, Thursday reports here before any type of a decision gets made. But like, I don't even know if I want to play him regardless, even if he's 100% healthy. Like, I would honestly probably just pay for Gronk over Waller. Andrews, I don't like, he's consumes a ton of market share on that team, but like, so does TJ Hawkinson. You know what I'm saying? Or
I think I'm just like done
he
paying
has.
up for some of these guys, man. It
I know.
just cripples the rest of your team if they don't get there, and their range of outcomes is so much larger, man. Like, Kittle's still 6,300, Kyle Pitts 6,200. I don't know. This is like one of the things that like add them to your stack. I think that's totally fine, but if not, like, we got to find someone down here that we like. We'll see if Freiermuth is back with that concussion, but at least he's been a red zone threat. Tyler Conklin, I guess the salary saver if you wanted one against Minnesota, even though he's kind of or with Minnesota, that he's kind of dropped off from a volume perspective pretty heavily. So yeah, I guess this is going to be one of the ones we'll see throughout the week. Jared Cook, his price hasn't moved. CJ Uzoma, like, I just want someone that can score. Outside of that, I like really don't care at this position anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Freiermuth concussion stuff will be very interesting, because the $5,400 is actually not a bad price point against a team who gets eaten up by tight ends. You can attack Baltimore there underneath, and so he does have some touchdown equity with the amount of red zone looks that he's been getting at the position, and it's not like Conklin or Cook or I like. This is just tough. There's nobody really below that I'm overly interested in, and so it kind of just looks like Freiermuth around that $5,400 price point is much better than like a $5,200 Conklin or a $5,200 Uzuma.
Yeah, it looks like Debo Samuel. Thank you to the chat. D Mills in the chat says that Debo is actually going to be out for this week. Okay. So we'll see how that changes some things. But let's go ahead and build a lineup. By the time most of you are seeing this video, we will have a new listener league up. So FanDuel.com/Holka. Get in there, rake free, $5. We've been getting overlay every single week also. So if you're not rolling out a ton of volume, you should definitely be in there, no doubt. So Hodge, I'll let you pick our first player here this week.
I'm gonna make it easy on us, and I'm gonna do the Ayuk at 7K.
Okay, Brandon Ayuk. I think I might leave him as a one-off for now. I'm not like in love with anything on the Seattle side at first glance, but yeah, I think that he's a decent option to start with. At quarterback, I'm tempted to pay all the way up for Lamar. It's just one of those situations where you look down a little bit. You got Joe Burrow at 7,400. If there's pace in that game, I do have some interest in that. I guess one guy we didn't talk about at all is like, what do we do with the T. Higgins thing now that he finally got there? People are just gonna go back to that well. That scares me.
Yeah, but against wait, where? How much?
Chargers.
How much
so T. Higgins is
75, right?
6,600.
Oh, 66.
Yeah, Chase.
The Chargers
is,
are tough
75.
on the outside, man.
Mm-hmm. I was just throwing that out there because I know a lot of people were talking about him forever, and we finally give up on him, and he gets there.
Yeah, no, which is great. I mean, my best ball and season long teams aren't upset about it in any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
So the volume has kind of just been there, though, right? Like there was like 1 or 2 weeks where he had like less than 6 or 7 targets, and so I think from a volume standpoint, it's great, but just like I'm genuinely concerned about just some of the outside stuff with the Chargers, and you can kind of run on the Chargers. So like, I don't know, man, tough.
Yeah, I guess we could just play Lamar. I'm just I think we probably have to play him with Bateman then. So I'll do that just to give us some salary relief and still feel pretty good about our skinny stack.
Okay.
So we got Bateman, Lamar. I guess we haven't even touched on defense. Let's see if we have any home teams down here. We got Minnesota at Detroit. I guess without Dalvin, you could make an argument that Minnesota would throw a little bit more. Detroit's 3,100. We have Houston at Indy, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Jets at Philly. I'm probably not playing the Jets even. I guess we've seen Hurts turn the ball over, but there's gonna be no pass volume there, right? So does any cheaper defense stand out to you at all? It's gross.
It is gross. What? Oh gosh.
I don't hate that. I don't hate Detroit at 3,100. I just think that without Dalvin, maybe they throw it a little bit more. Pass volume is all we really want, and they're at home, right? So 3,100 at home, division game, all that stuff. We'll see.
Yep.
All right, throw me a player, any player.
Jonathan Taylor.
JT. So 6,300 the rest of the way. We can definitely make that work. Let's see what Cooks' price is. We got a little mini stack action there. Cooks is 6,700. How many targets did he have last week? Only 5 targets, but did get in the box. I don't know if I want to box us into that one.
I'd also like not trying to force that type of correlation either.
Yeah, no, exactly. All right, let's go ahead and toss in one of these cheaper. Let's go Montgomery 6,500. I still think that's underpriced.
I think that's perfect. I think he's very underpriced for his workload.
Okay, 6,300. We don't have a ton of correlation here, which is fine. It's just the first look, obviously. But so tight end, wide receiver, and a flex.
Oh, I'm gonna give you Mike Williams.
Big Mike. I like the price. I guess I have weird biases now. I wonder, we probably can't fit in Mixon in this build. Not even close. That would have been a nice spot,
he's
though.
Like a second. Yeah,
he's so expensive now.
We can move away from Taylor. Like we could just literally move away from Taylor.
Let's move Taylor to Mixon and see what that gets us. 6,700 left. So if we went to tight end,
punt at tight end.
Yeah,
I think it's with Freiermuth and hope he plays for now, right?
Yeah, it gives us a bring back on our Lamar stuff, which I like. So now we got 8,100 in the flex. So we're kind of in that Najee Harris, Justin Jefferson, Leonard Fournette. Are we just going to ignore the Leonard Fournette leverage again? He's just going to shove it down our throats with Brady stacks everywhere again? I don't know.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. I was going to say Jefferson, but we have Detroit defense. It's not like the best thing in the world. We could, I guess, keep hammering the Pittsburgh side of the Baltimore stuff with Najee. I don't know.
No, I don't think that's too much. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's kind of a weird price point.
It is. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we could move down and then move up a defense too.
Yeah. I would maybe even say like Darrell Henderson in all honesty at 7,500 and then just find a different defense. I think like from a volume standpoint, I think I prefer that in like a smaller field tournament. Darrell Henderson in the flex. There's late swap there with 405, so it works out good. And that gives us just some flexibility to do whether it's at defense or a different position.
So you could do that. What about moving back to JT and then we go with a Tyler Lockett, Brandon Ayuk mini?
Yeah,
at 4 p.m.
That's perfect.